Yo, what's up? It's your boy ET. Welcome to another edition of M.A.S.S Impact, the educational podcast. Now, look, the reason why I started this, I truly believe that education is the way to close the gap, the wealth gap, the digital divide gap, the opportunity gap. Look, the American dream gap. Can I be honest? Everybody's not experiencing the American dream in the way it's supposed to be experienced. So the reason why we started the M.A.S.S Impact, the educational podcast, is to close that gap. Now look, M.A.S.S is simple. It means motivate, actionable steps, which means what? We're going to give you strategies every week. So we're not just going to motivate you and inspire you, which is important, but we're going to give you actionable steps. And look, it's a support system, y'all. Thus M.A.S.S. It's your boy ET. Now you know. Let's go.
Yo, what's up? What's up? It's your boy ET. Hey, super excited, y'all. Man, it's a crazy, busy, fun week, right? But we got something special we're going to talk about today. But before we get there, look, this is M.A.S.S Impact, right? 4 things, right? Motivation. Like you cannot do real work without being motivated. I tell you all the time, a car needs it. Your phone needs electricity. Your refrigerator, the stove, everything needs electricity, right? So we're going to motivate you and give you the motivation you need to help you and your students succeed. But action steps, y'all. And I'm going to talk about this book and how, it relates to the importance of having a goal, right? Action steps, like you got to have action steps. And then the last one, of course, support system. All right. That's super important. So, Katie, as always, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Tell us what we're talking about today.
You're never stealing my thunder. We like to start it out with you and give the energy in here. Hey, we talk about books around here all the time, but specifically, we're going to talk about UOU.
Yeah.
Exciting book release today. Well, we're recording today. It came out just a couple days ago. So loving the excitement around it and wanting to talk about it. We want to hear your perspective in the last week, but also about how we see it playing out in the education space, how it's going to make an impact for kids and families and communities within education.
Yeah, I got to say this, guys. This is deep, right? So Tobe had hit me up and Toby was like, congratulations. You're number one in some categories, number 1 and 2. I was like, okay, that don't make sense, but okay. And so I told Toby, yeah, we're trying. We're trying to, hit that New York best time sellers list. And he was like, what do you mean trying, E? Like, that don't make sense. What do you mean trying? I thought you execute. And I said, what's funny? I can't say that I'm going to execute because unfortunately, when you're talking about the New York Times bestsellers list, there is no concrete algorithm, right? And I think they did this because maybe when they first came out, there were people who were wealthy who would actually write a book and then buy their book in bulk. So the one thing we do know is that it takes a lot of individual sales, right? Mm-hmm. But it's hard to hit a target you can't see. So like we get up in the morning, we're kind of talking about, okay, what do we know? Like, how can we, and the reality is it was like, look, we have we can talk to the publisher, but the publisher doesn't have like all the insight, all the information. But we can talk to the publisher. There's another whatever. And so I'm telling you, as educators, it's hard to hit a target you can't see.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember those classes that I started doing well in. Believe it or not, it was the classes that had the rubric. It was the classes where the teachers really like identify, you do this, you get a 2.0. You do this, you get a 2.5. You do this, you get a 3.0. And although it was cumbersome, like it was like, man, this is a lot. Actually, I enjoyed it to some extent because at least I knew what the expectations were. They were clearly written out. I could clearly see them. And I had other teachers that, I had a good relationship with, teachers that I had a great rapport with, and then I'll get a paper back. I was like, whoa, like she cool, but man, like one time I got a 3.0, one time I got a 2.2. Like, I don't really know what she wants. Like I thought, you know what I'm saying? I thought the rapport, I thought the relationship, like one paper, I think I wrote the same thing on the second paper. But that teacher was kind of like, more of a relational teacher. But while I enjoyed the relationship, and I felt better than I felt in the class where I didn't have a relationship with the teacher. But the rubric, it was like I actually could do better in the class with the teacher I didn't really care for, because I had some real solid, tangible, here's what you're supposed to do. So I just want to say, as it relates to the book, to start off, I had this goal of hitting the New York Times bestsellers list, but then figuring out like, yo, I don't know, the publisher doesn't know, the team that I hired, they don't know. Like, nobody really knows how to hit it. And it's a little frustrating when you put forth effort, when you're trying and you're working hard, not to have a goal. So I want to say to some of our teachers, you have students that are trying, that are putting forth effort, that have a lot of energy, but unfortunately, because you don't operate with a lot of specificity, it makes it challenging.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's like, there's all kinds of research to support that, right? Making sure that our students know what their learning goals are. They can state them back to us. As much as teachers, we don't really love the whole teacher evaluation thing we always have to go through, but those teacher evaluations, they do check in with us that we have to make sure our kids know our learning goals and can repeat them back to us.
Absolutely.
And all the way down to kindergarten. I mean, every grade level, our kindergartners should be able to say, my goal is that I can count by twos to this number, so absolutely, there's so much benefit in making sure
absolutely. And for everybody, it takes the stress off. For clarity. What LaShanna used to say back in the day, I don't even know if she really knew what she was saying. That nothing clarifies like clarity. And nothing clarifies like written down clarity, like objective clarity. Objective clarity. You know what I'm saying? Like rubric clarity. You know what I'm saying? So not even this idea of talking it out, but literally having it on a piece of paper where if I'm not with you and I can't call you or talk to you, it is written down in such a clear format that actually I don't need you. You actually, number two, you actually empower people when it's in writing, because again, they don't need you to the same extent they need you when it's not in writing. They don't have to keep calling you and asking you a million questions. So good. Well, that's for me. I know we're going to jump into the book, but for me, I think that's a big takeaway as I've been in this book process. Is that we need clarity. We need instructions. We need things in writing. We need to understand. We need to know. What are your expectations today? What am I supposed to be doing tomorrow? What's the ultimate goal? So absolutely.
All right. Hey, I'll jump in and I'll ask you, E. I'm curious, as schools, I know there are schools purchasing the book for their students and teachers for their classrooms. And so I'm curious if you have thoughts on what part of the book you think kids are going to grab onto the most. I'm envisioning like secondary classrooms are going to be having this in their hands, and which part you think that's going to make the biggest impact for students.
I think chapter 2, can have a major impact, that you're not alone. I think so many of our young people are committing suicide or attempting suicide, or so many of our young people are getting into unwanted relationships and having unwanted pregnancies. And I think a lot of it has to do with them feeling like they're alone and not learning how to use their resources. I think that's a big problem. I think, even working at Michigan State, I did a program the other day and I asked the kids, how many of you guys feel kind of icky about asking for help? And 90% of them raised their hand. Like, I feel like I'm made to feel dumb and stupid. I'm made to feel, like I'm not on a certain level. So I find that a lot of young people feel, that they are alone, and they're not. I don't think that they're alone. I think they haven't been taught how to use resources. And we assume because resources are available that people automatically just know how to touch and tap into resources. And they don't. Our kids don't. And so I think chapter 2 is really going to resonate, not just with the students, but with educators. They're going to be able to use this chapter to show students how to tap into those resources and how to get the help that they need that's readily available. And here's the reality. It's a lot of adults who want to project themselves as if they got everything going on and don't get help, because even adults feel like I don't want to feel stupid, or I don't want to feel inferior, or I don't want to feel like, I'm not at the top with everybody else, and I think one of the things that I need to do a better job of, and I like the fact that I was able to write this book, because I got a chance to show people what it was like when I was in that space, and that much of my success has come from getting help. Like most of my success doesn't come from me. Oh, I'm sweet, I got it going on. Most of my success comes from, I'm gonna call this person, I'm gonna rely on this person, I'm gonna use this person. And I think that's a lost art, in capitalism. Capitalism teaches this, sometimes this false ambition, and this false individuality. Like, I gotta go get it, I gotta do it on my own, I gotta make it happen, I gotta compete, and I think we need to teach that the true essence of capitalism and how it started was a group of people coming together. And again, we keep missing it. The United States of America. Like, we missed that part. Like, in the beginning, it was the United States. It was them. They come together. But as time progressed, there was this need to be an independent state, or it was this need to, do what you want to do when you're independently of everybody else. But that's not how they form. They form as the United States. And if we understand that we all need each other and that no man is an island, I think we're going to do better. So for me, I would hope that chapter 2 would be the one that brings a different culture in America, and people will start going, man, it's okay to ask my mom and my dad for help, or my teacher for help, or my counselor for help, or whatever community program that's coming in, ask them for help. Like, it's okay to ask for help. And I am not alone. I need to be able to, I was looking at something the other day. I was like, yo, you need to understand that you are happy. It's just you're looking at everything that tells you you're not happy, And so, yeah.
I think that is so powerful, like, and not just for our kids, but for educators, for parents. Like, how many parents do you know who think that, okay, like, I don't need help. Like, I can get this done, without asking other parents, without leaning on the teachers, or, whatever resources are provided. Or how many teachers, as a former educator myself, how many times when I was, as you were speaking, E, I'm reflecting like, oh, like, you go through the training, you learn all the things that you're supposed to learn, and you go in thinking, I got it. And then you feel like it's some sort of a, I don't know, like it looks badly if you step out and say, you know what, I know that I learned this way, but it's not working in my classroom. So, please, like, help me, give me more resources, give me more information, or let me shadow you in your classroom. Let me figure out what you do to solve these problems. So, and one of the things that I've learned, especially in the Adventist culture, is that, just that whole triangle effect. It's like you're getting it, and you get it at church, you get it at home, and then you get it in school. And so in education, if you could teach that concept and the value of it with the teacher, with the students, with the parent, and you're getting like kind of like that whole trifecta, I'm just thinking like, wow, like how powerful that would be, to learn that it's okay to ask for help.
Definitely. I love it. I love that you mentioned like observing other teachers. There's so much research and power in that if we could get into each other's classrooms and observe. And there's a lot of hesitation among educators to do that, to let other people in our classrooms, so we're nervous, or there's judgment, or we're worried there's judgment, but there really isn't. And so I love that takeaway for educators too, not just for students, that you're not in it alone, and that we're all going to be more successful if we lean on and support each other and get into each other's classrooms and pick up some exciting new tips from the teacher next door, because there's going to be benefit for our students for sure if we start doing that more often.
Congratulations, E. Man, this is big. This is major. I just enjoyed listening to what everybody had to say about you. And it was just consistent, how much you really care, how real you are. But my thing is, what was it for you in terms of writing this book that you learned the most about yourself? What was kind of like some takeaways for you? Because when I hear you owe you, that's so personal, because you're talking about you. So personally for you, what was like the big lessons that you learned from writing You Owe You?
That our superpower is only our superpower because we think it's our superpower. And that's what we concentrate on. But we're able to do, man, literally exceedingly abundantly beyond anything we could think or ask. You know, that's for me, that's really what the book is saying. It's like, I saw myself as, you know, whatever. If a teacher told me I wasn't smart, if people told me, you know, like, you'll be lucky to make it to 21, you know, man, growing up in an urban community, you know, that's one of the big things. Like, you're not going to make it to 21, you know, you're not going to make it to 25, you know, this idea that, you know, you got a better chance of going to jail than you do going to college, you know? And so for me, the book is like, yo, we are powerful beyond measure. You know, we can do more than what we even think we could do, you know, and I never saw myself, you know, first of all, as a writer, and I need you guys to understand something. When I say I never saw myself as a writer, I don't mean independently. I just mean I never saw myself getting into the genre of writing. And so for me, I had to get into it by collaborating with people who are giants at writing. I need y'all to understand that. Like, this is not, you know, individual ET project. It's not like I just sat down on my own and was like, all right, I'm about to sit here and write these 10 chapters. Like, I literally had a writing coach. I really, really had, you know, somebody who's a giant at it. My girl, Leslie, who wrote for me with GQ, you know, she did an article for me in GQ. And I was like, yo, I've never met nobody that could really keep my voice like this, you know, and really help me to express myself in a way, you know. So we spent, man, this is crazy. We spent a year together before we even wrote. Like, we just spent a year together. She came to every conference, you know, she came to the house, you know, and we just spent time together. You know what I'm saying? She got to know me, I got to know her. Then we spent a year writing. Then we spent a year with the publishing company preparing it and getting it out. So I kind of learned that you want to be with the marbles. Like, you don't want to just be, you know, Hulk by yourself. You don't want to be Thor on the solo. You feel me? Like, you want to be with the marbles. It's some giants out there. It's some monsters out there that you just can't beat up by yourself. That you have to have, you know, people. And so I learned what my lane was. I learned what's not my lane. And I've never had a problem getting out my lane. Like, I'm not the dude that get out his lane. But what I learned was you got to let other people get in the lane. You know, and that's probably something I had never done before. I just was like, yo, I'm just going to do me and do it at a great level. I'm not trying to do what nobody else do. Now I'm like, yo, you need to get people in the lane. There's some people who are good at what they do, maybe even on the way to great, but they need you to help them get in this lane to take off and do what they do great. And so that's really for the book for me. It's just like, yeah, you got to let other people get in, you know, and help them to be great. Like mass impact, motivate them, give them action steps, you know. And I was talking to somebody the other day and they were saying, oh man, they should have been doing that. And I was like, oh, no question they should have. But the reality is it don't work like that. Somebody's got to follow up. Somebody got to call every day. And somebody got to stay on people's nerves. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just don't work like that. You're absolutely right. It should just be as simple as, but it's not. And so I'm learning I've got to teach people what it is and not do it, but teach them and let them get in and do what they do. Because if it's 40 of us that are operating at a high level, it's going to be much better than one or two people operating at whatever level they're operating at.
Okay. I am so excited about this book for our youth. And so, you know, as I was reading it, I was just thinking about like all the youth that you touch, right? Through the School Days Foundation, through Champs, through Show Me the World Project, through so many programs in schools like across the nation. And, you know, as I was reading it, I was like, oh man, like just thinking about kids reading the book and learning from your story, like about identifying your superpower. And even though you didn't fit into this box, right, of how you should have acted in school or how you should have navigated certain things, like it just made me so excited for students to be able to really like learn from your story in more depth, see themselves and understand that it's a journey to finding their superpower, but the journey has to start now with that reflection. So I'm just so curious about what you think the impact will be like on our youth after like reading about the journey of the superpower and really doing some reflection, identifying now what their superpower is and how that can play a role in their future.
Yeah, freedom, man. People gonna be free to get out the matrix. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be free to get out the matrix, you know, and they're gonna be free to go, yo, this is a way, this is a path, but this is not the only path. You know, this is not the only way to do it, you know, and that might work for you. And that might work for you, but I gotta do what works for me. And that's the thing that I know that they're gonna get. And it's so funny, I was telling the kid the other day, he's like, yo, I don't want no boss that, they don't treat me fairly. I was like, okay, well then you gotta be your own boss. So this book is gonna teach you, like, yo, you owe it to you to be your own supervisor. You owe it to yourself, to manage yourself. Be your own manager. It's so funny. The world is so backwards. People have this insatiable desire to like be a leader or a boss. And it's like, yo, can I be honest with you? Like, you can have a title, but until you boss yourself, you can't boss nobody else. Mm-hmm. Until you manage yourself, you can't manage nobody else. It just be pseudo leadership. It'll just be pseudo, you know what I'm saying? Like you have the title or the role, but you're not doing it. And the reason why I feel so comfortable, like I got something to do here shortly. I haven't studied one bit, but I already know I'm gonna murder it. Why? Because I live what I'm about to go talk about. It's not theory. I'm literally about to go talk to some people who work for the police department, and I'm really gonna talk to them about serving, and protecting. That's what I do. I serve people. I protect people. That's what I do. So, I hope that they get. You got to lead you first. Like, you can't lead me financially if you broke. Like, you can't lead me academically if you're not a student. Like, you can't lead me in self-discipline if you're not self-disciplined. Like, you cannot lead me. You could give me theory, but you can't intimately talk to me in depth about something you have not. I don't want to just say attempted, but it's got to be something that you conquered. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can only teach what you conquered. You can't teach what you haven't conquered. I can't teach you math if I don't know how to subtract and divide. I can't teach you that. I literally have to know how to subtract and divide to teach you how to subtract and divide. So yeah, that's what I'm most excited about. They're gonna get a chance to say, oh, it was never the teacher's responsibility in the first place. Oh, it's my responsibility to learn and to teach myself. Oh, why did I think it was her responsibility? I guess because she's getting paid. No, that has nothing to do with it. So that's what I'm excited about. You're gonna learn today, as Kevin Hart said. You're gonna learn today, and not figuratively, but literally. You're gonna learn to start learning you and how to activate you and how to make you work.
That's so awesome. One of the things, as I was thinking about it, just because we exist in an instant gratification society, so everything is now. And when I think about like our kids and just when they're watching social media, and it's like every other day, like there's this new celebrity or this new influencer reading you. They're going to learn, there's, like you said, like there's a process, like everything doesn't happen overnight, so every step that it took you from the time when you left home and you were homeless to everything that you're doing, like when you were living in, when you were going to Oakwood and now, ETA, like that whole process, that whole journey, kids all across the country, because we're doing it on such a larger level now, they're going to get an opportunity to see a true, authentic story of work, grind, ethic, perseverance, the successes and the failures and the determination to succeed no matter what. They get to see that in real time by one of the greatest influencers who ever did it. And I just think that that's so valuable to our youth today.
Love that.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, my friend took me to a whole nother level when he said, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That was like game changing. I was like, yo, it's a system to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, please excuse my dear, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Oh, bruh, let's go. Let's go. And so for me, math was one of those things that changed my life, because math was one of the few things that wasn't a individual rubric, it was a universal rubric. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. The thing I never liked about English is it just depends on who reading your paper. You know what I'm saying? Like, It ain't nothing consistent.
Feels that way, yeah.
Like it just whoever reading it, you give it to one teacher, they gonna write it one way. You give it to another teacher, they gonna write another way. Like that hurt me. Like that, I couldn't put my finger. I'm like, yo, I just don't know. I don't know. And I got discouraged because like I don't know. I love math because I don't care if you're in China, Japan, Mexico, United States of America, it don't change. Math is math. It's not subjective. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not, you know what I'm saying, objective. Like I think this way, it's 1 + 1 is 2 all day, everywhere in the world. And so for me, when I started realizing patterns and I didn't have to guess or think or feel, I just had to follow the pattern. It's like, yo, it's a wrap from there. And so I'm hoping that kids will read the book and go, oh, when you angry and you act like that, oh, this is what you're going to get. But when you angry and you act like this, oh, this is what you're going to get. I told, I don't know if I was talking to Katie or not, maybe, but I was telling her I went to the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
I promise you, this was the rudest lady I'd ever met in my life. Like I felt as an adult, I felt some type of way, I was just like, whoa, like, this your job? Like, what in the world? Like, you asking me questions when I told you, y'all called me and told me that my documents came from Denver here, and you like disrespecting me, and I sat there and was like, okay, E, you grew up in the city. You got 11 women, you grew up with 12, actually. You know what I'm saying? My grandma had 11, you know what I'm saying? And then my grandma, you feel me? So I had 12 just on my mom's side. So I know how to, and I grew up in the city. So I know how to cuss people out, right? I'm not personally a cusser, but I know how to do it. I went to school, so I know how to cut you without cutting you. You feel me? Like, without being disrespectful or degrading, I know how to make you feel stupid. And I said to myself, you've done that before, Eric. You've done both of those. How do you like the results of those? I don't. How do you like the results of being respectful? Temporarily they hurt, but in the long run, they gonna work out. And so I just said, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No eye contact. Didn't give her any eye contact. Looked down. Wasn't all over the place. Somebody called me, and I was telling them, yo, I can't talk. I'm in the like, you see that sign? You can't talk in here. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And by the time we got to the end, she had made an error that she thought she made, but she didn't. So I had to fill out these papers, and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. So by the time we got to the end, she was on she self-corrected by the time we got to the end. And Didi was like, oh, I wish I was there. Oh, I would have. I was like, you good. I know how to take care of myself. And, but I've learned patterns. I've learned that there are people who are dead because of their anger, people who are in jail because of a quick anger, people who've missed opportunities because of an error. And the crazy part about it was when I was at the Secretary of State, I don't know this young lady, but it's my wife's cousin, and she happened to work there. So I was just grateful that, I didn't show out, what I'm saying? Not that it would have been the end of the world, but Didi's cousin is there. You know what I'm saying? It'd been like, Eric was in here acting a fool. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, LaShanna, patterns. I'm hoping that the kids will go, ooh, that Eric, oh, it don't seem like he was the same. He wasn't in the superpower. It don't seem like he was being successful. To, oh, what was the stuff that he was doing when he was successful? Oh, yeah, let's do that stuff. And so now they don't have to go through it on their own. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great lesson for our students to hear, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
So I got 3 minutes. Talk to me, and then y'all can talk. Y'all can give a point and, end it off like, what you want to tell teachers, based on, something that you read. But I got 3 minutes. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I would jump in there. I do. I would teachers, parents. I can't emphasize enough, but E's already alluded to it. This is the type of book that you can legitimately use as a blueprint. And I think that as a reader myself, like I know that there are a lot of great books out there, but this isn't the type of book where it's like, okay, I'm one and done, and you put it on the shelf and maybe you do recommend it or refer it to a friend. No, this is I involve this in my everyday life in every capacity. And so in the classroom, I would advise teachers, absolutely talk to your students and be transparent. Be willing to say, hey, this is something that I read. Here's where, I failed in this. Here's where I succeeded in this. And then share that information with your students, because that's, that helps with relatability. I know that, even again, like as a former educator, one of the reasons me and my students had such a great relationship, because I was so transparent. I spoke to the mistakes that I made and the things that I experienced. And again, so I would just say, like, using this book as a blueprint and as a means to connect with your students is going to be invaluable in establishing, your classroom culture and just, and what you do with your career long term.
I'll say this, before I leave. Somebody was asking me why this book, and I told them, as a reader, just as a pure reader, there are a lot of books I've read that have principle but not presence. Right? And when you find a book that has the principles and the presence, that's a different level. So a lot of kids will be able to read this book and not just get the principle, but see themselves present in the book. Right? They're going to see themselves. You feel me? You don't get that all the time. Most books, you get the principle. But what makes it difficult for people is that they have the principle, but they don't know how to inject themselves into the principle. Yeah. It's like it's foreign. It's like, oh, that's a great principle. Well, how do I do it? When you read this book, like, you're going to feel like, oh, that's me. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that's me. You said it. I put sex in there for a reason. Like, that's a part of my experience. But I want kids from Lansing to go, yo, oh, wow. He around the corner. I want the kids in Chicago to go, oh, wow. He was on 79th and Halsted. Oh, man. His grandma was on 107th and Whitworth. Oh, man. They grew up on 76. Oh, man. Penny Can, they playing a video game. Oh, man. He in Detroit, on the west side of Detroit. Like, I want you to go, yo, that's me. And if he is me, and he having that kind of success, then I can have that kind of success. So this is why I think this book, is super important and super dope. Yeah. Principle and presence, right? So again, a lot of books got the principle, but a selective few have the principle and the presence. When you feel like you're in the book, you feel like you're there, like you in that book, like, that's me, that's my mom, that's my dad, that's my uncle. Oh my, I know somebody that. So I wrote it that way, and we just getting started. It's so much, and I got so much stuff, man, we could share on the business front and how I transitioned from, being in the very urban community to being multicultural and diverse now. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. So I appreciate y'all. Y'all keep it going. I want y'all to do the round boy, give the one particular principle. At the end, of course, we're going to take it to Coach B, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Congrats.
All right, thank y'all. We winning, y'all. This is all of us gonna benefit. We win.
I think.
I love it.
I know. Go ahead, Vondale.
No, you got it. You got it.
So for me, I'm just thinking about. I lead a youth development program, right? So basically, like, for any of you out there that are in youth development, whether it's through an organization, whether it's through a school, community center, church, like wherever. I think one of the things that I absolutely love about this book is, especially for the students of the Show Me the World Project, traveling internationally is like a very first experience, right? And for many of our students, they might be it's the first time experience, but it might also be first in their families, to do this. And so we do this in collaboration with the families. But I think, like, the mindset around, like, I deserve this, right? Like, this is something new. Like, I'm breaking this mindset because I think that there could be a lot of fear of, like, oh, there's that trip. Like, I don't know about that. I've never heard of that. I don't know anybody that's done that before. And so I love that E, like, tells this story that is in such alignment with, youth or anybody really, like, trying to do something for the first time. And I love how he talks about there will be pain associated with any new experience. And there will also be pain associated with staying where you're at. So I think, like, I'm just so excited about that storyline and the impact that it will make. And I think for all of you that do work for youth, like right in this book, there are like questions right after the chapters. So honestly, it's so easy to incorporate this into your lessons, into your meetings. And so I know for us, we are super excited to do that. And E is already well known. Vondale, you talked about that before of like bringing in authors where students like get to meet the author. And because we, so many of us grew up with E over YouTube and, social media, and you feel like close to him. I'm so excited about the impact that this book will make when students read it. And I just encourage educators and youth leaders to really lean in and see how you can incorporate it.
I got a quick challenge for everybody. I want to purchase 10 copies for the person that emails me, vsingleton@champsmentoring.com. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, we'll know if you're paying attention because I'll get an email or two. But the first person that emailed me, this book, we have the video to go with it. I've already downloaded the Audible. So what I'm doing, and let's challenge ourselves. If you want to listen and read the book at the same time, remember with Audible, you can change the rate speed. Sometimes I put it on 1.25 or 1.5, so it goes a little bit faster, the way that I like to read. But UOU, to get this book in your hands, go to the YouTube and type UOU. That's one of my favorite ET videos of all time. Most of us have seen it and watched it. But I want to challenge somebody to email me. The first 10 email me. I'm going to get you a copy of this book.
I love it.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
Say that email one more time, Vondale.
Email vsingleton@champsmentoring.com. vsingleton@champsmentoring.com. 10 copies, 10 free copies.
That's awesome.
I love it.
That's awesome. I don't have much else except listen, parents, teachers, get the book, right? Just get the book. You won't be disappointed. It won't this is not an exaggeration. Again, like all the things that we said in this podcast today, authentic and true and real. And not only will you be inspired, but you'll get a chance to inspire the people in your environment, so it'll be full circle. So get the book. You won't regret it.
Absolutely. And I'll just say as a reading teacher, it is, we talk all the time about books that kids want to read. It's a book your students will want to read. So when you're looking at how do I get some more choice books into my secondary classroom, or for your staff, it's a book people will want to read. They will engage with. The students will finish it. And so you'll have great opportunity to increase reading motivation when they're reading something they're engaged with. And I love that Sam mentioned there are you could use them. I think of them as writing prompts, but questions at the end of each chapter. There's a challenge at the end of the chapters. Use those as writing prompts. There's an abundance of learning opportunity that we don't want our students to miss out on from this book. So really, really excited to see large impact for kids all over the world being able to have this book in their hands for sure. All right. Hey, let's send it over to Coach B. He's going to round us out in the principal's office. And we're excited to be back here again with you, M.A.S.S Impact, next week.
Welcome back, everybody, to the principal's office, where we review and recap the most impactful points from today's broadcast. But today, there is only one most impactful point. You've heard us talk about it by now. UOU by Eric Thomas is out now everywhere that books are sold. This is a book that you need for your secondary classrooms. This is a book that you need for your staff. This is a book that you need for you. UOU to get this book. This is the first time that ET has told his full story from start to where he is today and included every single lesson. It's in the book. The workbooks are included in here for you to take the principles and apply them into your life. Everything that you need is in this book, and you owe it to yourself to grab a copy for yourself, for your students, for the parents, for the staff, everybody that you can think of. This is a game changer. So do me a favor, go to uoubook.com. That's uoubook.com and get a copy right now. And Vondale said that the first 10 people to email him, they're going to get a copy for free. So uoubook.com, or just email Vondale if you think you're quick enough. Grab your copy of UOU today. That's it. That's all. Says the clock on the wall. We will see you on the next episode of Mass Impact, the Education Podcast.